Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this new talk at Première Vision. Today we are going to talk about this digital world we are definitely living in. Being digital for a fashion brand was yesterday a strategy. Now it has become an absolute necessity. But digitalizing the different steps of fashion design implies many things: methods, objectives, not to mention the control that must be kept over the virtual life cycle of a fashion product, because a fashion item, in the end, is anything but virtual. It has to be worn, to be touched, to be loved, and it is made by human beings. And our guests today are Gilles Laborde, General Manager at Première Vision. Hello, Gilles.
Hello, Karine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And Julien Pajot. Julien, you're a senior consultant in product design, virtualization, and social responsibility at XL Conseil. Welcome, Julien.
Hello, everyone.
So, Julien, can you explain what is XL Conseil? What do you do? How do you help brands in this digital new world?
Very quickly, XL Conseil is a very small consulting firm. We are made of 7 senior and associate consultants. And the idea is to cover basically the entire life cycle of a product, from the upstream processes up to distribution into the different boutiques and shops all over the world. So we can help the brands, garment brands, accessories brands, cross categories basically, but we are all in the cabinet highly specialized in the fashion industry and fashion categories basically. In my case, in the cabinet, I'm in charge of the upstream processes, basically going from the first sketch for the product design up to the production, the beginning of the production. So it covers all the development, prototyping phases up to the industrialization and the final go for production.
Okay.
So we are specialized in three levels of intervention for the brands, both the organizational level, so we can organize teams and the different groups; informational level, so we can organize the flow of information between all those actors; and the system, IT level, so we can put in place all the systems to support those processes.
So I assume you had a lot of work lately, because we know that the pandemic has forced brands to accelerate their digitalization. Can you explain, since that's the topic today, what is virtual sourcing and how does it work?
So virtual sourcing is one aspect of the overall virtualization for a brand. The main need that we want to cover as a brand is, of course, to make the product available online, basically, in 2 main processes. The first step is to make the product available for the buying session, wholesale. And therefore, we can also make it available for the B2C channels, like e-commerce, etc. But in order to arrive to these final steps, of course, we have to prepare all the steps before, ahead of time, meaning that the product has to be indeed virtualized, digitized, with multiple technologies that we can mobilize, and also workflows in order to meet the goal, being there at the buying session at the right time, and have a digital prototype available for those online sessions, online buying sessions, basically.
Yes, please continue.
No, so in order to cover all those, to cover this goal, we have to make sure we can cover all the upstream processes to deliver correctly at the right time. Of course, there's a landscape of technologies, very disturbing technologies within the companies too, so that they tend to forget sometimes their own good basics, good processes. So we'll go back to that later. And we want to make sure that those companies can actually reorganize themselves in this virtual world in order to deliver their products to their market, and with respecting the time to market, which is still a main issue for our industry.
So I assume you work closely with Première Vision on this. Gilles, what is the role of Première Vision Marketplace today in all this process?
Well, the role of the marketplace of Première Vision maybe change a little bit to the situation the entire sector is facing. At the beginning, and just to mention that we started the marketplace in 2018. It was online in 2018 in September. The idea at that time basically was due to the situation we face is that the collection was multiple. Was spread in the calendar and spread in the distribution over the months of consumption. So the idea was to support and to help the industry to be able to meet and discover new products all over the year. In fact, that was the idea of a 365 days trade show. Let's put it this way, and also to give therefore a visibility to the new product that was launched 1 week after the other by the tanners or the weavers. And to give the opportunity to their customers to discover. Still, this objective, this goal is on. But in addition to this, appears the health problem and the situation of the industry in which they cannot meet anymore or not travel or the best way. So let's put it in a simple way. Today, the marketplace have three goals. Mm-hmm. One goal is to connect. It means that to bring together the offer and the buyers online. Another goal is to discover. Discover means that we bring new products online and we make a selection and we help through the input which is made by the Première Vision fashion team. We select products and we give visibility to products that are on the stories of the fashion trends. And the third pillar is to source. Source is discover new exhibitors, discover a catalog, and look at the catalog of products.
Okay, so last September was the first 100% digital edition of Première Vision.
That's right.
What are people getting used to it? What was the answer of the customers, the buyers, the suppliers?
Well, I can give you some figures. Maybe they can help understand. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, September 2020 was only digital. We were not able to help the show as usual in a physical aspect of the show. So hopefully earlier we have prepared to this situation, and we have decided preparing the show that it would be an hybrid show, meaning physical and digital at the same time. And so we were not able to have the physical one, but we were able to have the digital show. And we use the marketplace platform as the digital show really itself. We in the week of this second week of September, during the digital show, the platform welcomed 24,000 users from 120 different countries. And it was very interesting to see that the top 10 ranking of the buyers were in fact very similar to the top 10 in terms of countries. So the top 10 that we do have on the physical show. So
people were there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So very international from day one. And so 24,000 is not the type of the figures that we do have physical, where it's bigger, but still was from our point of view very, very positive. We we had over roughly around 5,000 page view in a week, in only 5 days of the digital show. And the group of seminar was attended by over 5,000 people, okay. which is quite good and much bigger than the figures that we do have the physical shows.
Okay. So Julien, we are talking about digital continuity. Is it possible to keep this digital continuity from the beginning, from the source until the end? And what could you remind us? What are the main steps of it?
Well, of course, in the term itself, digital continuity, it means it shows that we have an issue of an actual discontinuity in our processes, exchange of information, etc. We were talking earlier, and Gilles was mentioning it, of course, with virtual sourcing. In the case of materials, which is, of course, the key factor, starting with virtual sourcing for a brand, are materials, both fabrics, leathers, but also hardware. Let's not forget the trims and hardware. These are important too. So this virtual sourcing is an interesting point and good example of this discontinuity that we may have in the chain of information and transfer of information from one group, which is the group of the suppliers, to the group of the brands. And here we have an eternal discontinuity. For instance, just even the basics. We're not even talking about 3D and beautiful presentation of fabrics, etc. Online. Just the basics. Even the basic information, like the reference of the fabric and composition, very important composition, all the raw materials that are in the fabric, for instance. Even this basic information is not today easily transferable. We send this information, or the suppliers send this information through Excel files, through emails, through PDF, etc. And everything is reinserted manually in the system of the customer, of the brand, by the buyers, basically, and their assistants. So they have to reinsert all this information manually. I don't even know how this information is generated on the supplier side. That I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of discontinuity there too. So we've got this chain of information that is absolutely dysfunctional from my point of view, and it takes a lot of resources to actually guarantee a continuity here. All manual resources with very little added value. I mean, we're talking just basic text and references and raw materials and provenance, etc. So we start with this current state of things. A lack of continuity on those basic informations. Therefore, when we add year after year all the challenges of social responsibility, transparency of information, transparency of the supply chain, all the certifications necessary to actually buy the product, etc. So we add multiple layers of way more complex information to manage. And we are not even yet able to correctly, properly, efficiently manage the transfer of the basics. So we're gonna have some issues, basically, because the social responsibility is growing. It's not a trend. It's not a growing trend. It's a growing momentum since the 70s, and we have to get ready. We had time. We had many decades to get ready. We are not there yet, and I think the challenges are coming and coming fast. Because I think the acceleration that we had to deal with this pandemic. So this is an example of discontinuity. So, and we can go there, on all the different steps of product design, material to providing material and material information. So here I'm talking basic information. Tomorrow we are talking, tomorrow and already today on American platforms, we are talking on the share of information related to 3D design, high quality textures of the material, high quality rendering. So we have also the simulation of the behavior of the material as well as the texture, and all those files and format, etc., are easily integrable in the different systems of the company. And we can go there, for all the product design steps, we're going to find a whole lot of discontinuity. So the challenge is really to refocus and streamline.
That fabric or material like us, people should have an ID when it's born that follows it until it's used, like a QR code on our phone, and then we add information on it as long as it's processed.
Exactly. What's interesting, you know, I see that in multiple brands here, and still focus on materials, because after all, Première Vision is all about materials. So I can see the same fabric in two different brands, because of course those brands, luxury brands, share the same providers, etc., the same suppliers. So I see the same materials, more or less. I'm pretty sure I can look at their systems and see very different information. I mean, very different or slightly different information. The problem is when we're talking about such strict information, such as the composition, which is, you know, legally binding, basically, when it comes to import, export, etc., and all the impact on the composition of the final product. We can't play with that. We are not there, you know, taking stuff, and all that goes behind it, because behind the composition, it's much more than just saying it's 50% cotton. You know, it's cotton. Is it from a sustainable agriculture? Is it an organic cotton, basically? Where are the certificates? What is the provenance of the raw fiber? Are we able to define the provenance of the raw fiber, dealing with the fact that those fibers sometimes are actually mixed? We have multiple sources when it comes to raw materials. This is the case for gold also, and if we go also to hardware, gold, silver, useful palladium, ruthenium, etc. We need more transparency and shared information on those aspects, and we are not able to manage such detailed information. So yes, the ID, the identification, unique identification of the product in the B2B market would be very useful, so we don't end normalization of information transfer, information format. We are used to that with our little gadgets here. When we share a contact information, whether we have an Apple or an Android phone or whatever, it's instant. We can share it instantly. That would be wonderful to have a similar approach in the B2B market of materials and hardware, for instance.
But there are so many pieces of information for just one piece of cotton, and the people who made it, and it's getting huge in the end, right?
It's a huge level of information that is required more and more. From a legislative point of view, we're going to have to provide this information for the sake of transparency and the sake of the interest of our consumers.
So Gilles, what could be the role of Première Vision to improve this? How could you get involved in this?
Julien is 100% right. It's very clear that this discontinuity is an issue to avoid any, or let's put it a different way, to give more transparency and to have a digital chain of information, at least. The situation is that for the fabrics, especially the processes are very separated between each other. First, you have the material, then you spin different material together, then you weave, then you finish, etc. At least the spinner, he knows the material he's putting inside his yarn, so he's capable of giving a very accurate information of the raw material which is inside the yarn, and give this information to the weavers. Normally, the weavers, they have the IT that is necessary in order to bring on their data identification of the article, everything that is needed for the fashion brand when they are buying a fabric. But still, this information is discontinued from the raw material to the yarns, then to the weavers, and then to the fashion brands. even on the marketplace, we have some weavers which are uploading the data from their own IT system directly with API to the platform. But most of them, they're also typing again the project, so they recreate the information. So the basic information you mentioned, Julien, like the composition, the weight, the width of the fabric, the reference, the identification of the reference on the color, etc. They are online on the marketplace. So let's say that now, even if some of this information is retyped, but some is already connected from the supplier IT to the marketplace, then now is the situation of how to share this information with the buyer of the fashion brand.
Okay.
And from the beginning of the marketplace, we thought that the marketplace could be linked with PLM, PDM products, which are product lifestyle management or that kind of tools in which there is information of the material which are in. But at the moment, still, we haven't reached that point.
This level of integration.
Exactly. Not yet. We haven't been asked, but we are ready to support initiatives that comes from fashion brands who would say we want to integrate the data of our suppliers in our system directly with not only the information but also the image. So I'm hoping it will come in the near future.
Yes. There is still a lot to be done, but we're getting there.
Well, we on the marketplace, we at the moment have, I would say, roughly 40,000 products online. The 40,000 products, they all have an identification, the composition, all the basic information. Not mentioning added value information, but just even the basic is there. So this is an information with the approval, of course, of the weavers or the tanners involved in a project. With the approval, it is possible to share because it's an open platform. It's a full SaaS platform, so it's possible to share this information with the fashion brands.
Okay.
It's very interesting. I've seen, Gilles, by the way, I've seen some interesting initiatives between a PDM software, a French footwear PDM software, and an American platform. I couldn't call that similar to Première Vision because the strength of Première Vision is the extent of suppliers connected to Première Vision. So it's a bit different. But in terms of transfer of information and integration between systems, it's actually exactly it's showing the way basically. So from the PDM itself, we click on the button of the fabric material platform, digital material platform. We click on it, we choose in the catalog, click download, and boom, this is in the system, including with 3D textures, etc., etc. So there is
Yes, you're fully right, and we could just look at what's happening on the wholesale digital platforms, which are more and more integrated with the fashion brand in order to make the multiple brand retail.
Yes.
And so we have to look at what's happening, and we need to be ready, and the suppliers need to be ready also to accept to go to be more digital and to share then this information with their customers, and added value service for them to give to their customers.
Yes.
So Julien, so we are talking about the materials, but in general, since we are talking about digital, have fashion brands, according to you, managed to adapt to this digital shift after these few months of pandemic? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us which one did well and which one was especially proactive in this new context?
Well, the overall digitization of the fashion product started a while ago already. Even just with the basics, like a picture, a photograph of the sample, of the sales sample for the buying session. So we had that more or less industrialized already. You know, when the samples arrive, you have a photo shoot. Everything is, you know, very organized. The sample is labeled properly with QR codes, so you can quickly identify and generate all the ideas in the different systems. So we had that already. What's going on now in terms of acceleration is the buying session was still a mixed medium. So the catalog was in the process of being digitized from a paper catalog to an iPad catalog, basically. But the products were there. The samples were still there, and the buyers were still in the sample room. So what is transformed now? We have to do all this work of buying and selling the product, convincing that the product is worth buying without actually looking at the product. Our final customers in the B2C market are already used to this process. Actually, you know, they all buy online. We thought those barriers were actually very difficult to
convinced.
Yeah, that was a difficult thing to convince buyers to go in this direction. And actually, that was a fairly easy process in the end. The desirability of a product is now designed on different aspects, maybe less or not as much as we thought on the physical part, on the senses of the product. And since we can receive it and return it fairly quickly, that's easy. The B2B buying session was not in this situation. They still had access to and wanted access to the actual physical product before buying, because the volumes were not the same also. So there was this process here that had to be transformed. So brands really moved quickly, but already like 2-3 years ago, moved quickly to have a fully digital buying session. So it's on the way. Of course, the experience you provide might differ. Differ from the physical one, of course, but even in terms of technology and what you can give as an experience during those digital buying sessions might differ quite a bit. You know, buying on just a photograph and buying on a 3D model that you can turn around and actually play with, basically, up to the configurator. So your buyer can actually choose, modify the colors, etc. So they can, you know, so this is quite a difference here in terms of the overall process to design such digital product.
You said the word experience twice. So whether it's a digital world or a physical world, this is really important. The experience you give to the customers. Or to the,
yes. It is not my specialty, of course, because we were already talking about the end of the process, the buying process. So it's not my part. I'm not. You know, I'm not designing experiences. I make sure that for those experiences, we in the product development teams, I help those teams, so they are able to deliver with minimum effort and a great return on investment to deliver those digital samples. That's the goal. And then what we do with those digital samples, well, if they're well conceived in different format that allows different experience to connect and to reuse those objects, those virtual samples, then perfect. You know, at least we can provide that. The idea is really for the product team is to deliver a sample. Either it's a digital or physical sample. We have to make sure it embodies what the brand wants to communicate. So.
All right, thank you. So Gilles, do you think the very concept of fashion design or the very concept of your job is being changed forever?
Let's put it this way. We have huge demand for people to meet again physically.
Yeah.
Even if I'm really feeling that digital is very important for the future, I shall say that people need to meet and still the materials need to be touched and feel. Whatever, as Julia mentioned, the digitalization and virtualization is something which is very important. Also, in order to have a time to market shorter, in order to avoid some costs, in order to avoid all those samples in the process of development that goes in, never to the final stage. Okay, and in this process where we see that the tools that are available at the moment are absolutely fantastic, where you configure the model, meaning the shape of your customers, and you do the modeling of the garment, and this is all digital. It can push the people, the creators, and the people in charge of the development to create in a different way, which is really fantastic. The main issue in this is still that the material that needs to be used in order to do the rendering in a digital way is not still at the level at the moment, at the level that is needed to give yes, exactly, to go beyond some of the barriers that we still have, and I would say that the diversity is needed, and this is maybe a key topic for the future of the marketplace, is to give additional features in the information of the material that is on the marketplace to support the virtualization, a good virtualization or a better virtualization of the product in the process, in these new processes of development.
This is very interesting. I was we're working. Karine, you were mentioning, you know, which brands are doing well, etc. We are working with Balenciaga, for instance, on those different matters. The overall virtualization of products, big impact of their last runway. I would still call it a runway, even though it's basically a virtual world inspired by the gaming, and it is a game actually, so by the gaming industry. And this is a very good point. And all this configuration aspect that we have indeed in the 3D world, we can configure almost infinitely.
There are so many possibilities.
So many possibilities. The problem is we have to reconnect those possibilities with the actual manufacturing capabilities. Because in the end, what we want is a physical product. So we have to make sure that all goes intertwined properly. So we do not create something that we won't be able to manufacture in the end. So that's where the connection is still important. And that's where we need also still experts in the in the fields, in the different fields, of course. Configuration, product configuration is very well discussed in this period for the finished product, finished goods, garments, footwear, etc. I would say it's also just as important, for the fabric manufacturers, for the weavers. We have wonderful tools, 3D rendering, procedural rendering, with configuration options that maybe could be at someday available directly on the platform, on the marketplace, and things like that. So we can choose colors defined in a range, you know, properly defined by the manufacturer itself. Finishing, you know, do we want it more shiny, less shiny, and all the ideal thing, of course, is whenever we move the button, of course, it calls a different recipe, basically, a different information. Maybe by moving the cursor, we change the actual reference of the fabric because it calls a different SKU.
It's like endless.
It's like endless, but within the framework of the manufacturer. It's endless, but within the framework of the manufacturer, so he can deliver. That's basically the goal.
That's very interesting, but we're running out of time and we have to go. It's now time to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Julia and Gilles, for your expertise. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for watching us. Please stay connected with Première Visions. We will be back very soon with a new talk. Thank you. Bye.